everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So if any of you have been following me on my social media accounts, you would see that this last month I was working on Inktober. I had a lot of fun with Inktober, and so I decided to share with you guys in this week's video the process that I used for my Inktober drawings. For each of my drawings that I worked on this Inktober, I always started off with a basic sketch. By creating a basic sketch, it allows me to go through and fine-tune any details that I may need to work with. It will also prevent the characters from running off the page when I want them to be in frame. Once I had the sketch to where I knew I'd like it, I moved on to inking. The basic inking process that I use for Inktober is the same process that I use for all of my Copic drawings. While I was sketching, I made sure to keep some of the construction lines. This allowed me to choose which line would work best with the drawing while inking. I also kept my kneaded eraser in hand as I was creating the inked lines. That way I could go through and erase as I was working. One of my favorite details in this drawing was the fuzzy trim on the female character's coat. To create this fuzzy effect, I used a series of squiggly lines, remembering to even make the dark shadows that I use to make the shading effect look jagged as well. Once I had finished the line work, I moved on to toning the foreground. To do this, I used a crosshatch technique. Before starting Inktober, I had never used a crosshatch technique or any of the traditional inking techniques to provide tone to a drawing. So after watching some videos and trial and error, I learned that the best way to do it was to make the lines more dense and actually cross in some of the shadowed areas. So I actually used that to shade both the female character's coat and the male character's coat. The more lines I put together, the darker the image looked. Also, in order to create depth in some of the heavily shadowed areas, I used a number 1 multi-liner pen. For the rest of the drawing, I mostly stuck with a 0.3 multi-liner pen. Now that I have finished the basic line work in the foreground, I'm going to move on to the background. So a couple days ago, I created this cheat sheet with all the different inks that I have so I can kind of see what effects I can do with each of them. And I think for this, I'm going to work mostly with the Kiyotatake with alcohol and some salt, and that will really help to bring out some of the fall colors. So in order to create the background, I actually watered down the black Kiyotatake ink, and that way it could create a nice gray tone. I applied the watered down ink using a Sumi-E brush. After I laid down the color, I went back over and used an old broken paintbrush to apply rubbing alcohol and a salt glaze. Used together, these formed a really cool leaf effect. I continued this process throughout the drawing, using less and less water to dilute the ink. I then used the small brush Copic multiliner in order to create the trunks of the trees. Keeping the line spaced out allowed it to look like bark. I used Kiyotatake black ink to create leaves behind them and white gouache to create highlights in the trees and a few more leaves rolling behind them. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe.